The Private Label Pod with your host Paul Mooney, brought to you by Private Label People.
You just listen and leave the rest up to us.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 17 of the Private Label Pod. I'm your host Paul Mooney. Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw once remarked that America and England are two countries separated by the same language. Today we met with our American partners Esso and Emily to try and speak a language that you all understand. The language of private label, and more specifically, partnerships.
Get involved, have your say, ask us a question, or leave us a voice message by heading on over to privatelabelpeople.com/podcast.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We're here and we're going to talk a little bit about partnerships today, and you two guys are a partnership, so a good way to start. How are you finding being here and working together under the pressure of having to work with other people? Usually you can, if you're having a problem with SO, Emily, you can usually just shout at him in the confines of your own apartment, whereas here, are you having to rein it in a little bit? Are you?
Yeah, you got me. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been really great being here. I love being with the UK team, and it's really great to be able to work with, not just another set of partners, obviously, as we know, Mickey and Ollie, but also working together as partners with Robert involved. I think we balance each other out really, really, really well because we're so different. And I think that you do need that different perspective to be able to see how all of our partners, so the members of our private label people group, can view a situation as well. Yeah.
So what works in your partnership? What would you say is the key thing that actually works, or does nothing work? Don't tell us that.
Well, I'm just really amazing, and I am easy to get along with. I'm very patient, tolerant, and caring.
Very that goes sweet. Very sweet. Yes.
That goes a long way on a day-to-day in the small confines of communication and future planning. That's great.
Well, we don't have a visual here, so people can't see the side eye that you were getting there from Emily. But yeah, would you agree with what he's just said there, Emily? That they're all key strengths that work in your partnership.
Absolutely. Yes, he really balances me out as a tyrant. Yeah.
You know what it is it really is that in some aspects of our relationship, Emily and I couldn't be more different. However, what we are in line with is our goals, our business strategy, with the direction that we want to go into, and ultimately what we want to deliver to the partners that we're working with and for ourselves. So I think our values are in line, but we couldn't be more different in our process and how we approach things. Emily is superior in our relationship when it comes to communication and speaking with others and being the support that people need. I have a much more direct approach to things, and I have a tendency to not see certain pieces or how I may say something as direct, or even introducing myself. Let's just not call me Stephen. Let's just do SO. Even in those moments, I could probably soften that. Emily is skilled at doing that, but it's not even skill so much as it is who she is.
Yeah, that's a key part in a partnership, really, isn't it? It's looking and recognizing what each other brings to that partnership. And it's never an easy thing to say, I'm weak at this. Is it? That's a difficult thing to admit, really, as a person. But whenever you're in a partnership, it's even more difficult, because if somebody said, you know what, you probably should have handled that better, you tend to take it personally because, well, look, you're a married couple, so it can be a little bit hurtful. But do you ever struggle with that side of it, or are you good at just, for instance, Emily, if SO says something wrong or does something wrong, do you pick him up on it? Does he accept that okay?
You know what? I know this is going to sound funny, but if anything, this business has really helped our relationship move forward, because in order for this to be successful, we have to be able to deliver that feedback. We have to be able to accept it as well, too. And we look at it as it's not a personal attack. It's just we really want the best for each other and for us personally and professionally. So we know that it can be a lot of pressure because there's a lot riding on a conversation or a decision, but at the end of the day, we know that it's for the best. We also do come from backgrounds of high volume leadership and management and running businesses. So we do have those skills that are transferable. You need to be able to give that. You need to be able to receive that. And at the end of the day, like, I always like to think of feedback as a gift. I don't know, Steve, what your perspective of that is. I get to call him Steve, by the way. Everybody else has to call him S. So yeah.
I was going to correct her.
Yeah, nope.
You know, I agree that this has our partnership in our, you know, our first business of our private label portfolio business. You know, we've had to learn how to communicate better. It kind of forced us, and force is probably not the correct word, but it put more pressure for us to learn how to communicate better and take feedback. We'd, like Emily mentioned, we'd given feedback and received feedback from others as people we've managed, but then to do that to each other, you know, we do have some inside jokes that you're not the boss of me. That kind of is something that's often, you're not the boss of me, and we can joke about those things, but we know that we're better together, and I think that's a huge fundamental piece. And along with me being patient and kind and tolerant, I'm wonderful at taking feedback. I'm not closed off. I react appropriately. I respond wonderfully.
And very modest with it.
Of course.
Yeah, but I think what you guys, it's obvious that you have is respect. And you need that in any partnership, don't you? It's a really important thing to have. And you're a partnership, obviously. You have other partnerships outside. So you have the likes of your suppliers and people like that. What do you think are the key things in a partnership with an outside relationship that you have to get right? Is it doing as you say you're going to do, doing it on time, you know, answering that email, coming back to someone? Are they the sort of important things, Emily?
I think, you know, as you're saying that, what comes to mind is empathy. Understanding that each person that's in front of you or behind a computer screen, they're there for a reason. So I think it's really important to respect the reason why that person is there, and to be able to not treat them the way that you'd want to be treated, but treat them the way that they would like to be treated. And, you know, I can't even imagine doing the business of private label even alone, removing private label people. Like, having a private label portfolio alone would be so difficult. So I'm very grateful that we have this opportunity to be somebody else's partner in case if they don't have anybody else beside them. We want to be there for them regardless of where they are in their journey.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great that people can look at us as their partner, and
Yes.
we can look back at them, and everybody treats each other with respect.
Mm-hmm.
And also sometimes there are different cultures that we're dealing with, and sometimes respect looks very different in another culture that you maybe wouldn't even think of it sometimes. But it's really important to give people an understanding of maybe where in the world they're from and what's acceptable to them. Sometimes we have different ideas on what that looks like. So in regards to you guys on a day-to-day basis, so what's your starting day look like compared to Emily's?
Actually, it is quite different.
And why is Emily laughing? Sorry. It's apologies.
Because we joke about different things. I like to drink coffee. I always start with this. I like to drink coffee to the point in the day in which I start to question my life. Like until I hate myself, I usually say. Meaning I give myself anxiety. At that point, I know it's time to cut off the coffee, which is usually about 2:00. So I start my day strong with coffee, but I sit down at my computer and at my desk, and I open it up and just start to get an overview. Emily likes to get real quiet, have some quiet time, and have some peaceful time and serenity. I am immediate into chaos. And I thrive there. So this is what I mean about this. And when you talk about the partnerships and different things like that, I think it's Emily and I partner up on hundreds of things a day. So it's communications. It's I need to talk to this supplier. I need to respond to this person. And we support each other in that, because what I've found is that it's small-minded of me to think that I have the answer for every problem that comes up for today, or I have a solution for every problem that's presented to me. That our minds working together, we can basically find the best direction to go, and it has worked really well for us. And we talk about partnerships with members. this is another place that we can be your partner. You know, if there's something that small that you just need to run by us, a decision that needs to be made, a communication that needs to be made, or a better place to go. This is the kind of partnership that we talk about. Sometimes it's very small, and it's not always monumental pieces. And the other side of it, which I think is probably one of the most important pieces, is that Emily gives me a pep rally in moments that I am struggling, because we have both had experiences where we have, I stand up, I'm like, I quit, I'm out, and I need a minute, to come back to reality. And she can be that support, that pep rally that I need to redirect me back into sanity to some extent. And I think that I've provided that to Emily in moments, and that helps us with staying focused, staying upbeat, staying positive. I know there's been many times where she's said to me, you're in the gap right now, after reading, our literature that we're into. And, of course, I've taken that so well. I just thank you for educating me on where I am at right now. I appreciate it. And, of course, that's not the case, right? I'm in the gap. I'm negative. I'm upset about something. We need time, But that partnership helps those things. Not just decisions, not just actions. It can even be attitude.
Yeah, I think going back on what you were saying at the beginning, I think Emily's very clever, and I think what she's doing in the morning is letting you burn yourself out, and she comes in whenever you've found that serenity a little bit more. How many coffees does SO drink in a morning, Emily? Is it a few?
Well, our coffee evolution has definitely evolved. We've gone through many different types of coffee delivery systems, let's just say. But if you're in the States, we would always have our coffee like pre-made ahead of time, like a pot. Okay. I think we've gone through would I be over dramatizing by saying like 2 or 3 sometimes between us both by midday. But now we've got a very nice coffee maker that makes espressos. He's a bit of a coffee snob, but that's neither here nor there. But it's all very strong and very good. Keeps us going.
You've got you'll have some people listening who don't work with their husband or their wife because they just don't think that will be a good idea. But it's really important, even if you don't work with them, to still be able to talk to them about your business. And I can imagine we have probably lots of members out there who their other half doesn't really know an awful lot about private label, and trying to explain to them what they're doing is quite maybe difficult, and maybe sometimes you don't get the level of support that you require. And it goes back to what you were saying about partnerships, and it's like SO saying that sometimes you need a little bit of help and a little bit of, it's okay, you're in a position right now where you're going to come out of that soon. You're maybe a little bit down in the dumps about something that hasn't went right, but it's also important for people who don't have that working partner to be able to then pass it on to their other half also. Is that something that you would really encourage people to do, to speak to their other half and tell them what their day-to-day looks like as an Amazon seller?
Yeah, and I think it's difficult because if that other person doesn't have a full grasp and understanding of it, it may be difficult to portray that. But I like to think of it as like if you were going on a walk with somebody and you saw like a really pretty bird, you'd be like, oh, look at that bird. Like you wouldn't hold yourself back to it. So I think it's just like releasing yourself of that fear. Like, is this person not going to be interested? Is this person not going to care? Like at the end of the day, it's important to you. So why wouldn't it be important to the people that you love?
What do you guys do for whenever you're finished your working day? Have you got hobbies? I know you like watching a bit of NFL, but do you like to go for a walk? Do you go for a meal? Have you got other things you take up that gets over the stressful side of things?
We are both learning how to balance, and I don't particularly like the word balance, just in the way I structure my life. But we are learning how to balance a little bit of knowing that, running your own business, the work is really never done. Mm-hmm. So you can always open your laptop or sit down at your desk and do several hours of work or get distracted into something. So it's actually been something we've been focusing on. It was mentioned about being present and kind of giving yourself timelines to do something and structure it a little bit more. And we're starting to realize how important this really is, and we're starting to utilize different pieces to this and bring it into our day-to-day, because we have found that if we don't, we don't have the ability to turn it off and get to our hobbies. We both would like to, we talk about it, right? Make sure we're eating healthy, make sure we're active with exercise and different things like that. But it's also important to rest or to have some fun. And all of these pieces are things that we like to do and that we struggle to do if we don't organize and schedule ourselves the correct way. I'm an avid hunter. So for a hobby, that's something that's really big that I really like to do. And if I'm able to step away and do that hobby, it's really good for me. It's also good for us. I see the results because I'm able to come back to, to something of that nature. And, whatever we're doing in those cases, and also scheduling some time for ourselves, which, can be going out to dinner or spending some time together doing something, or with family. All of those pieces, they don't just come to you easily. You have to work for them too. And that is another piece of the partnership, making sure that we take time for each other, take time for the people around us, take time to schedule out those activities. If you're just going to leave it to chance, which we have done, it starts to build up and run away from you. And I start to get what we call deregulated emotionally, and I have a hard time coming back from that. Emily has been real supportive in that, allowing time for me to come back to that. And so it's funny because we were just laughing about the counseling aspect, right? Paul's our counselor today, and we could joke about that, but there is if you don't focus on some of those pieces, they can get away from you. And those are mistakes that we have made, but we've looked at them and we have evaluated them and said, okay, we don't want to continue that. We talked about this last February, that we were kind of using as like a mantra in our life, that we wanted to fail. And that doesn't sound normal, right? But what we were talking about was that failure is on the path to success. And so the more times you're failing, especially at new things, failing at the same thing over and over means maybe you're not growing, maybe you're not moving forward. But failing at new things means you've passed something and now you're on your way to success. And you just don't know when that success is going to hit. And sometimes it's with an individual product or an individual education piece that you're not grasping. It's taken us, there's so many aspects to private label selling that you have to be good at. And if you struggle, you're not good at something, pieces of your business can suffer. That's where the partnership comes in, and that's where we hope we come in as private label people for our members and supporting the group.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's what we're here for. And you've been here some time, Emily. Do you find it easy being away from the States, or have you traveled much before in a professional setting, or?
For a professional setting, yes, but it was just all within the States. Actually, the first time outside of the States was in February when we came, and now this is our fourth time. It's kind of crazy in less than a year, and it is easy in a sense that it does feel like home. Like this past time when we were getting ready, it was like we didn't have that nervousness set in, like we're going to be going away for 3 weeks. It just felt like, okay, just felt like another day that we were coming over. Of course, we miss our family. Of course, we have cats, and of course, I'm sure Steve misses the cats as well too. I know that I do.
Yeah, not my son. Just
and
the
your
cats.
son, yes, our family. But at the end of the day, it just feels so natural, and I think that's where I'm like my heart of hearts that I know that this is right. It just feels like another day, but another great day.
Well, it's a case that it's almost like a second home for you now. You've been coming here. You'll be getting citizenship soon, maybe. But so your son, I think something was said to me once by somebody at one of the events, that one of the reasons they started their private label business was that it gave them a chance to then pass it on to their children in regards to giving them business background and giving them some, teaching them so that they would have some acumen going forward and some experience, and then maybe someday they would end up running that business. How old's your son?
He's 16. He's 17.
Okay. do you ever get him to do any research or anything like that? Has he ever been involved in that side of things, or do you think maybe in the future it might be something that you would bring him into the business to help?
You know what, Emily and I have discussed this, and it's actually part of our plan. Our future plan is to take some of our investments forward and include him in that process. And of course, we are looking to bring him on board for some support for our portfolio business, and teach him some of those things. In the meantime, we have discussed even what he's going to start to go to. You would call university, we call college. And, you know, I've really tried to push him into maybe some business and some finance pieces, because I do think that experience is really important for him to go out there and experience those things. And then once he gets some of that fundamental education to bring him into what we are doing, I think he'll have an opportunity with eyes wide open to see that. And, you know, it's funny because he doesn't respond to me the same way he responds to Emily with educational things. I don't know if it's just the way she delivers the message, or if it's because I'm his father and he just doesn't care what I say. It could be both of those pieces. But I do think that there's a big part of our future to include him.
Yeah, great. And it's coming up to the evening time here. What is your evening looking like, Emily? I know you both work long hours, but you both, you know, you can see the passion for the business and for one another, but we'll not start going there on this podcast. You can see, you know, how hardworking you both are, but this evening, what are your plans?
I don't know. We're kind of like every single day we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants a little bit. We just kind of work both until we feel good about the work. Obviously, it's a little different than being at home, and we still want to make sure that we're accommodating the time zones for our U.S. and Canadian friends as well too. So I don't know. What are we going to do?
Well, I have a couple calls taking us into the evening. And then after that, we're just going to find some great food in the area. We really do like the food here.
Yes, we
there's
do.
a lot of similarities to Saintfield, Northern Ireland, to where we live in home in Buffalo. And that's one of the reasons we do feel so comfortable here. So we'll get some great food. We're just going to probably just relax a little bit, not too much.
Great. Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, look, as always, excellent having you on the podcast. We're getting to do a lot of it now that you're both here. We're having to do it remotely before that, but it's always better in person, isn't it? And hopefully we can take it stateside and we can do a US podcast at some stage. That would be good.
Sounds great.
Nothing would make me happier.
Great. Well, thank you guys once again. Speak to you soon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Get involved, have your say, ask us a question, or leave us a voice message by heading on over to privatelabelpeople.com/podcast.
As always, thank you to our guests, Esso and Emily. I'm sure you can relate to their experiences of working together. I know many of you are in the same boat, so it's good to hear what works for them. Thanks again for listening.